Hey, this is Dr. Gary Sprouse, the Less Stressed Doc, and I want to welcome you to the Happiness Highway podcast. And this is the place, this is the highway where we're going to take you to your happy place. But the first thing you got to do is know what it is. So part of our show is to show you what your happy place is made of. What's the rooms that you have so that you can be in your happy place more of the time. And I want to welcome my wife, Terry. Yay, hi.
Drive on happiness highway, a beaming smile on my face.
She's on Zoom today because we both went to the Dominican Republic on a missions trip. And when we got back, I got COVID. I took some medicine and got better, but then she got COVID. She took some medicine, got better, but then 2 days later, It's 2 days later? She had a recurrence, she had a relapse, so she got COVID a second time. So she's now at home taking her medication and trying to get better. How you feeling, honey?
I'm feeling better than I was Saturday.
Yeah, it was not good, but much better. Yay, thank you. Good that you're getting better.
Still testing positive, and we're doing this technology for this episode to protect our wonderful friends there at Digital Curve Media.
Yeah, this is for you, Chad. And you might... So this is interesting, right? So I was doing a seminar for a group of people, and one of the exercises was on how to feel safe. And so there's a thing that I do with hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming, and you pick up a time in your life when you felt safe. And then we bring up that tool and have you visualize it a couple times, and then it becomes a tool so that when you're not feeling safe, you can bring up that time. Oh, remember that time I felt safe? And then you can remember that feeling and it will make you feel better. But during the seminar, my wife said, well, I've never felt safe. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second, what does that mean? So then it made me go back, because her question was then, what does it mean to feel safe? Now, feeling safe is a part of the happy place. It's one of my rooms that I call C.A.S.H. So C.A.S.H, it stands for connected, accepted, safe, and having hope. So it made me go back and go, wait, what does it mean to feel safe? So tell me what you thought when I asked you the question, find a time when you felt safe.
In my mind, there's two parts of safe. First is feeling safe in your current environment, but even if you have something safe now, you risk losing it. So therefore, even if you are safe, you aren't safe.
I've done this with other words like worry and guilt and regret, where you said, hey, what does that really mean? And then you had to sit down and really define it. Like I just finished reading a book called Your Body Keeps Score, and it's about trauma. And the guy must use safe about 1,000 times in his book, but he never really defines it. So when you said, hey, I never really felt safe, then I was like, well, wait, we got to figure out what the definition of safety is, because if you don't know what it is, how are you going to get there, right? I came up with some ideas. I've run them past some people. We all kind of ended up in the same place. So there's certain emotions that we have, like love, like feeling pleasure, humor, curiosity, and they're very specific emotions that we are programmed how to do. But when I looked at safe, I was like, you know what? Safe isn't one of those things that we're programmed to know how to feel. So what I realized was that safety is the absence of stuff. So when people feel safe, it's because they don't feel worry, and they don't feel anger, and they don't feel pain, and they're not suffering. So safety is the absence of those things, as opposed to a feeling of a something like falling in love. What you're telling me is that you're still worrying, which then makes you not feel safe. So safety is that absence of worry. So when you're not worried, then you can feel safe, but it's not very often that you're not worried about something.
And even using the word worried, that might be too big of a word, but I can tell you that I'm always on guard.
In my definition of worry, on guard is just a mild form of worry. Some people, we call it angst, and then some people are having panic attacks. So there's a spectrum. So you're on guard is like at one end of the spectrum, and having a full-blown panic attack is the other. But yes, you're right. So humans were designed to be on guard. You're right. I mean, we are set up to be on guard. We're always looking for danger in our environment. And the key is trying to figure out how to be on guard without being uncomfortable about it. And so that's where that feeling of safety comes in, because then when you can say, hey, I'm just a little bit on guard, that I can deal with and I can still feel safe. Or you can say, oh, I don't ever feel safe. I'm always not just on guard, I'm like in panic mode. I'm in like super sensitive mode. Like I'm looking around for every little thing. And in that book, what they talked about was people who've had traumatic experiences in their past. They're not just on guard. They're like full blown, hey, I'm like looking around for danger every second of the day, which makes it really hard to live your life, right? Because then you never get to feel safe. So one part of the definition is, hey, I want to not feel worry. I want to not feel anger. I want to not feel pain, and I don't want to suffer, right? The second part is, and I think you were mentioning this, is that you can feel safer in one environment and not in another. Right? Is that accurate?
Yes. It's not a blanket that covers all aspects of my life. I feel safe in our relationship, but I don't feel safe financially. Even though we are retired now and we've saved for our latter careers so that we can retire, you know, a lot of our investments are in the stock market, and that could go up and down.
Right, so you just brought up 2 points. Okay, so the first point is that we have to look at safety in different environments. So fortunately, yay, she feels safe physically with my relationship. She's feeling safe that I'm gonna be there every day, that I got her back and that kind of stuff. So physically and maritally, she feels safe. But financially, that's a whole different environment, right? So that's different. So I've seen couples where somebody can feel safe financially, but they don't feel safe physically. Now we have to separate out so we can now further define safety in terms of what environment you're in, right? And then the third part then is, because safety involves the future, and we're never able to predict the future 100%, that means you can never feel 100% safe. So that goal of feeling 100% safe, don't have that goal. And I think you talked about this morning, we were going over this topic, like resetting your bar, right?
Yes. If your goal is to feel 100% safe, you'll never get there.
Think of safety in terms of percentages. Don't say, hey, I just feel safe or I don't feel safe. It's not an either or, it's a percentage. So you can say, I feel 50% safe, or I feel 80%, or I feel 99% safe. So if you're running around in your life feeling 99% safe, then you should be good to go, right? But what I see is males spend a lot of their time minimizing the dangers in life. So they can say, hey, there's a 50% chance you're gonna die, but like, it's no big deal, I can do this. And women tend to be more attuned to the dangers in life. And so they're gonna go, there's a 1% chance the plane could crash. I'm really worried about that, I'm freaking out, right? So there's a big difference in terms of how men and women handle that percentage of danger that's involved. So when I'm talking to my wife, you know, there's always topics of discussion, because I'm going, oh, it's not that big a deal, we'll be all right. And she's going, no, you don't understand, this is a big deal. And so it's one of the reasons that couples get together. One person in the couple, and it can be a man or woman, is going, hey, this is gonna be fine. And the other person's like, no. In the beginning of the relationship, it's very comforting. Like when you first came to me and said, hey, I'm really anxious about this. And I was like, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna work this out. And you were comforted, and you're like, well, that's great, I felt good, you felt good. But then I was wrong a couple times, and you're like, wait, the last time you said that didn't work out. And you're like, yeah, huh? Yeah. So then when I start saying, hey, it's gonna be okay, then you're like, yeah, that's what you said last time. So not only is it not comforting anymore, now it actually gets upsetting, because you're like, wait, why am I the one that has to worry about feeling safe, and you just la around in the world?
I also feel in that situation that I'm feeling unsafe and you're being dismissive.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. You're like, you're just ignoring, you're just sticking your head in the sand, and you're the one that has to spend all the energy trying to figure out how to solve the problem. This is why I talk about realistic optimism. So you can be optimistic. I'm an optimistic kind of guy, so I'm looking at the good things that can happen. But you have to be a realist about it, and you have to be willing to say there are bad things that can happen. And this is what I would say to you, Terry, and to the audience. You can focus on what bad things can happen, but you don't have to have fear, and you don't have to feel like super sensitive on guard. That you can plan for the future, even the bad things that are happening, but you can do it without fear, and that's by planning. And that's where that worry organizer comes in, because the last column is, well, what am I gonna do if the disaster happens? And when you start writing it down, first off, you only have to do it once. And second off, now you can start going, hey, if something happens to me and I died, like, do I have my will done? And you're like, well, yeah, get the will done. Then that's one less thing to feel fear about. We just went through this process of putting our will together. And I don't know about you, but I know I feel a whole lot better now. If something ever happened to us, that I would feel that things are more taken care of. It makes you not worry so much. It makes you not have fear, which then, guess what? Makes you feel safer, right? One of the rooms in our happy place is feeling safe. So now we've defined safety as it's the absence of fear and the absence of pain and the absence of suffering, the absence of anger. And it's in different venues and it's in a percentage. So now I can teach you how to feel safe. So if I can get you to feel safe when you're at 99%, when we did our financial planning, we talked to our financial planner and he ran it through, what's the thing, what did he call it?
Monte Carlo.
Yeah, Monte Carlo, right? So it's this AI thing that sets up your finances and it looks at thousands of scenarios and predicts how likely you are to not outlive your money, basically. And so we came out to 99%. And you're like, okay, for me, that was like, okay, we're good to go. I'm not worried about money. I don't care if the stock market goes up and down. But for you, you still have some concern about it, particularly as the stock market goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we can do then is try and figure out how to get you more comfortable with the idea 99% is okay, or 95% is okay, or 90% is okay. But that gives us some place to help teach you what it feels like to be safe. What I would say to you is, tell me a time when you felt right now safe in this environment, in this percentage. And that you would be able to answer in an affirmative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So we went from the seminar where I'm going, wait, what? My wife doesn't feel safe? That's not good, right? And the rest of the people in the room were like looking at me like, yeah, what's going on, Sprout? Now we have a better definition. So once you understand where the definition comes from and what it means, well, now we can start doing things. So we can say, hey, you might feel safe in this arena, but not in this one. Let's take the feeling you have in this arena and see if we can move it over. And then we can start looking at like, what's not making you feel safe? What's the percentage? It's never gonna be 100%. So maybe we can get it at 95 or maybe 90 or 85, or we can get you to be comfortable with an 85% chance that everything's gonna be just fine.
Back to your worry organizer. One of the things people need to be aware of is that the items that they list on the worry organizer, that's an exclusive club. Not everybody gets in. So, I mean, like, am I worried about a tsunami in Indonesia? Well, yeah, that would be horrible if that happened, but what's the likelihood of tsunami happening here? So you don't put things that don't need to be on your worry organizer. I mean, I'm aging myself here by saying this. I could fill a phone book with the number of things that I could worry about, but the reality of having to worry about them, I mean, it's an exclusive club. Not everybody gets in.
You know, putting down how likely is it to happen is important because then again, you put it into percentages. But then the other thing, and this is where men and women and this is where parents and kids get into trouble, is they go, well, it's not really likely to happen, but if it does happen, it's gonna be really bad. That's where people get into trouble. So when you start putting numbers on them and saying, well, the likelihood of it happening is 1%, but if it happens, it's gonna be really, really bad. Okay, well, so now you go, well, that's gonna be 100% bad, even though it's a 1% chance of it happening. So like when I talk about this, I use the airplanes. It's like the chance of an airplane crashing are like less than 1 in a million. But if it does crash, then you're dead, right? I just saw some Brazilian airline that fell down and it's like, yeah, it was scary. But the key is that you can do some planning. And I know you've said this to me before where you're like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And the answer is, no, that's not true. There are things you can do about it. They just might not change the ultimate outcome, but there's definitely things you can do to make the outcome less scary, less dangerous, right? And that's by planning, but planning without fear. And that's the key. So I want you to go home and think about this in your own life. So safety is going to be the absence of fear and / worry, right? The absence of feeling anger, the absence of pain, and the absence of suffering. And when you don't have any of those things running around, that's where you get to feel safe, okay? Second is, what environment are you talking about? Are you talking financially, or socially, psychologically? Are you talking environmentally? I can feel safe in 5 of these areas, maybe not the 6. So now I can not worry about the other 5 areas. I'll just concentrate on this. And then put it into percentages, because you're never gonna be 100%, because humans have the ability to have future. The future is literally a part of our environment. So it's never gonna be 100% because you can't predict what's gonna happen. So start getting used to the idea of it's 99% safe, or it's 85%, and that's enough for me. And when you do that, then you're gonna get to feel that sense, that happy place of I'm gonna be in a safe place. Isn't this awesome? So Terry, thank you for coming today. Hopefully you continue to feel better, because we got another trip coming up soon, so I want you getting better, right? Thank you for coming today. I want you to follow us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube to the Happiness Highway. So we have all these great ideas. If you have some ideas on the show you want to hear, let me know. But I also want to give you a little heads up. I had the honor of being a co-author with Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and the Success Principles. And I'm now a co-author on this new book called Mindset Matters. Yeah, it's awesome. It just is coming out now. It's out on Amazon and it's out on Barnes & Noble. And you can find that book and my own book, Highway to Your Happy Place, A Roadmap to Less Stress. So we'll see you again in the next show.
Drive